I was very clear that we don't teach critical race theory here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and it's a racist dog whistle, and he's got to stop it. I'm about uniting. Our children should not be used as political pawns.
That was Virginia gubernatorial candidate Terry McAuliffe just 2 weeks ago, denying that critical race theory is taught in Virginia's public schools. Well, we can now say with relative certainty that was a lie. Documents recently obtained by Judicial Watch show that not only have administrators been working to advance critical race theory in Loudoun County, they've also been active in fighting back against parents who dare to oppose the new curriculum. Here to give us some more details is the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. Tom, great to have you, man.
Hey, good to be with you again, bud.
So Loudoun County, Virginia has become the front line in the fight against critical race theory in American schools. What did this recent batch of emails show?
Well, they provide a useful insight into what we see kind of publicly, which is to pretend what they're doing isn't critical race theory and using other terms of art to disguise what they're doing. They talk about culturally responsive teaching and having legislation being pushed and supporting it secretly, it looks like, to mandate it across the state. So you've got Loudoun County, the top officials in the school, pushing this secretly, and then when they're found out, they try to dissemble. For instance, there's a program, and many of your viewers probably know this. They have kids in school. You got to figure out how to follow what they're doing online, and there's usually a special program. In this case, it's called Parent View, a mobile application used to help parents monitor a kid's academic performance. So there was this plan to require parents to take equity training before they were even allowed to see what their kids were up to in school. And what's the response? Oh, well, that's not true. It wasn't a plan to require it. We were just suggesting that it be done. So there's this dishonesty, this fundamental dishonesty behind their agenda here. And these emails kind of expose it in a rather direct way. And the thousands of pages of documents, and you kind of see the parents opposing this, and you see them trying to work with the media to tamp down, quote, they quote, friendly media, to tamp down what they call the insanity and craziness.
In some of these emails, administrators attempt to draw distinctions between critical race theory and culturally responsive teaching, as you point out, Tom. Ironically, both, of course, are CRT by acronym. But, I mean, is there a distinction? Is this part of an effort to obscure a little bit of what really the ideological foundation of this teaching, of this very left-wing indoctrination is?
Well, this is how they describe culturally responsive teaching. And I ask you if it sounds like CRT, critical race theory, to you. It asks employees to examine their own personal biases and how they might affect student instruction and interactions with the community. Concepts such as white supremacy and systemic racism are discussed during professional development. Loudoun County Public Schools has not adopted critical race theory as a framework for staff to adhere to. So they just described it as part of the training and then deny they're using it. So when you start talking about systemic racism, white supremacy, and quote, having you come to terms with your own personal biases, that's the repackaged Marxism and communism that everyone as shorthand uses to describe critical race theory.
The recent Loudoun County documents aren't the only ones Judicial Watch has recently uncovered. Tom, I know back in June you uncovered records from Wellesley Public Schools in Massachusetts confirming the use of, quote, affinity spaces that divided students and staff based on race as a priority and objective of the school district's diversity, inclusion, and equity plan. Is that sort of mandated segregation in the school system? And what is that?
You know, you hear the left talk about segregation all the time without it actually being segregation, which is the government coming in and telling people you can't do something based on your race and segregating them accordingly, which is exactly what's being done with tax dollars in the school district in Wellesley, Massachusetts. In fact, they had one teacher dare to ask, well, you know, am I allowed to go there? I'm white. And they said, no. They're trying to keep it only for students of color and others of color. So this is what's going on in Massachusetts. You know, CRT is, I mean, we talk about pandemics. The pandemic in our schools is CRT. That needs to be combated more than anything else we hear talked about in our school systems right now. It's throughout virtually every public school system in the country. It's either being pushed, or if someone opposes it, they're being attacked for opposing it by forsaking a stand against it, either statewide or school district wide.